Deborah Ayorinde stars in the new Amazon anthology series Them, playing a mother named Lucky, whose family is terrorized by their white neighbors in 1950s Compton. I'm Kevin Jacobsen of Gold Derby here with Deborah, and let's just start with what it was that most appealed to you about the idea of being a part of them in those early days.
Yeah, when I read the script for the first time, the first episode script, um, one, I was blown away by Little Marvin's writing. You know, he writes like poetry, to be honest with you, and it flowed for me. It wasn't hard to envision everything that was on the page, so that was important. And then secondly, I just felt like he wrote Lucky with so much care and intention. You know, I read a lot of scripts, and a lot of times Black women are, and not only Black women, but women of color are written on one note. Um, they're written by people who don't truly understand the experience of being a Black woman or can empathize with it. And I didn't feel that about Little Marvin at all. I became very, very clear that he wrote Lucky with so much love and so much dignity, and he wrote her so layered. So for me, it was just, that's what made me really, really excited to step into the world and the role.
Yeah, Lucky is a very multifaceted character for sure, where she's very strong, but she's terrified of what's happening around her. She's
Yeah,
very observant, she's a lot of things. And she's
exactly.
also a Black woman in the 1950s dealing with all of the realities that entails. So, how did you figure out the right approach in playing her and just contextualizing her place in the 1950s?
Mm. For me, I tried to approach her with a lot of empathy. Um, Obviously, understanding my own experience being a Black woman, but also infusing that, but also coming at it without any kind of pride or any kind of ego, understanding that she, at that time, or any woman like her, had to face things that I will never have to face, you know, be it because of the time period, be it because of just, you know, other elements going on at that time. So for me, I just came into it with an open heart and an open mind and really just listened. You know, I pulled from the people in my life, the other women in my life who have gone through things that I have never had to go through. And I just listened to them talk about their experiences, and I put that in the pot. I took from my own experience, put that in the pot. I watched a lot of documentaries about a lot of Black women that I looked up to, about their actual journey beneath the surface. I put that in the pot. And I felt like coming at it with the most empathy that I could was the best approach, you know, with the open heart and just coming at it, really understanding that, like I said before, there are things that she or people like her had to experience. I will never have to. So, yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and we can tell just based on her behavior in the first few episodes that Lucky has been through something very traumatic
Right.
in the South, but we get a little tease of it in the first episode, but we don't see exactly what it was until that fifth episode.
Right.
I don't know if you shot that sequence in episode 5 earlier or later, but I'm curious how much you knew ahead of time about what it was exactly that happened
Right.
to
Right.
her.
So I actually knew quite a bit coming onto the project. Um, and I tried to prepare myself as much as I could, but I really don't feel like any, you know, level of preparation would be enough, to be honest with you. When I got to that day, we did shoot in sequence, and when I got to that day, you know, it was far more emotional, far more heavy than I ever expected. I mean, I expected it to be, but it was just on a whole nother level. Um, but I felt like it was worth it because so many people, even today, you know, write me direct messages and they tell me that they've been through what she goes through in the middle of the season. Um, and they just, start to tell me their stories. And for me, it just makes it so rewarding that people can see my art and see my performance, and one, believe it, and two, that it causes them to feel seen and believed in any sort of way. It just feels like that's one of the true rewards of being an artist, is being able to put your art out there and being able to affect someone's lives. I think with acting, we have this, it's really a blessing, to be honest, but we're tasked with representing real people. So for me, it's like, it's not about just kind of kind of doing it in a way where it's I'll say it's, like I said before, it was about doing that scene in a way that was as authentic as possible, as honest as possible. And yeah, that's what I put into it. But there was no amount of preparation I could have done to
Yeah.
fully prepare me for that scene.
Well, Lucky has to endure so much in this series, and as much as you can separate it as like, you're playing a character, I've heard some actors say even that the body doesn't always know that it's just pretend, you know?
Yeah.
So how did you process some of those more traumatic scenes, either on the set or at the end of the day when you were away from it all?
Right. And you're absolutely right. Your body doesn't know whether it's real or not, whether what's
Hmm.
happening is real or not. And I felt every bit of the shock, the fight or flight, um, going through my body, throughout that scene and other scenes in the series. But how I dealt with it, well, one, I take my faith very seriously, and I leaned into that more heavily, to kind of get through that. Um, Also, therapy, and really sitting with someone and unpacking a lot of things that I didn't even realize I had hidden within me, that Lucky gave me the opportunity to unpack and to address and to be able to react in the most unhinged way possible without any judgment. So that was really, really a blessing. But I would say my family and friends, more so after everything was done, because I made it a point to kind of distance myself from my family and friends while shooting this, just because I really wanted to fully immerse myself in the experience of being them. I really wanted to feel what Lucky felt, that aloneness, that isolation, that even the people around you who love you may not understand what you're feeling, that feeling of being on an island. I really wanted to, I felt like she and people who have experienced that deserved the most honest performance possible that I could give. So that, and also leaning into, the other Emmys, we really supported each other through this process. We had to. So kind of getting us together on weekends in our regular clothes, going to the movies with, me, Ashley, the girls, and the girls' parents, and really just hanging out and just reminding ourselves that there's a world outside of this. So that was really, really helpful as well.
Yeah, I was going to ask about your castmates there, where
Yeah.
you spend a lot of time with Ashley Thomas, but also your two kids, Shahadi Wright Joseph and Melody Hurd. Um, I'm curious for the kids because they're both so expressive. What did the two of them give you to aid in maybe even your performance?
You know, they're amazing, amazing artists. They are so gifted. But at the end of the day, they're still kids, right?
Hmm.
So in between takes, we'd be doing the heaviest take, and they'd be doing a TikTok video on the other side of the room. You know what I mean? And it would just, for me, it really helped me to kind of, I don't know if you can hear the sirens. Can
It's not
you?
bad.
It really helped me to kind of, again, remind myself that there is a world outside of this, to kind of take on that childlike kind of energy when it comes to this. Um, but I also felt very protective over them too, because I felt like if they there were certain things that I felt like if they weren't gonna see it in this on this job, they were going to experience any level of it in life. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So for me, it was just kind of having that realization was a bit hard, but being protective over them kind of took the focus off of myself and what I was dealing with, which was weirdly helpful in a way, but just kind of being around their energy, their just fun, light-spirited energy was really, really amazing. And kids are wise. Like Melody would ask me questions about what was going on because she would only get parts of the script. And I'm really close to her mom, so I would know what her mom has told her, so I know what I can't tell her. But the things she would ask, and it would be so simple but so profound, it would really make me think like, why is it that way? Well, why are they treating us like this? Well, why is this happening in life? Like, what does this mean? Just kind of hearing her out was really such a blessing because you really get to remind yourself to simplify things. Um, yeah, that was really, really nice. Yeah.
Yeah. And then the season ends with some real catharsis where everyone's really, confronting their demons, literally, and the family is just standing strong together. It's a little bit open-ended as to what happens next, but did you think at all about what you think might happen in the future for this family? I know we're not going to see them because this is an anthology series, but
Yeah.
do you have a vision in your mind of their future?
Ah, you know, there's what I would hope and dream that happens next after the final scene. But then there's also the reality of what probably did happen next, right? Um, so my hope is that I would have loved for them to somehow, some way, um, after conquering their own demons, be able to conquer all the people just kind of surrounding them with hate. But the reality is that usually, I mean, pretty much, I would say all the time was not the case, is not the case still. So yeah, I battled with that a lot because the final scene was being talked about throughout the process a lot. Um, and then when I got the final script, I was like, okay, this is how it kind of closes together, and I liked it because I felt like it left the Emmys with a bit of dignity. You know what I mean? To say that at the end of the day, no matter what these people on the other side do or say, they've come to the realization of who they are, and they're handling this together, whatever comes next. So that was probably the best way and the most realistic way, to be honest with you, to handle the final scene. But moving forward, yeah, I have that battle a lot. Like I know what probably happened next, you know, and I know what I wished would have happened next. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, just speaking more broadly to the kinds of horror that we see in this show, we see the real life horror and we also see the more otherworldly supernatural horror. Do you have a leaning one way or the other as far as what unsettles you the most?
The real people. To be
Mhm.
honest with you, the supernatural entities have nothing on the real people. The
Mhm.
true terror are the real people and what the evil that they were carrying out. And yeah, the real people, hands down. Um, I don't know if it's, well, one, they were worse than the supernatural entities, but also I think that there's kind of a level of there's an expectation that, put our differences aside. I'm human, you're human. At least treat me like a human. You know what I'm saying? And so when that doesn't happen, it's really shocking. It's really horrifying. It's really terrifying when someone literally can't see you as a human. That's horrifying. So for me, it's the real people, hands down.
Mm. Yeah, and that really stays with you more, I think.
Yes.
Um, well, it's been several months now since you finished filming, and I'm wondering how much of the experience of playing Lucky is just still lingering with you all these months later, and also just, what you've learned about yourself from doing the show.
Oh, well, one, so after playing Lucky, it took me a while to release her. I really came out of myself to play her. It's to the point it's to the point where people just in life don't usually recognize that I'm the same. I played Lucky, because I came out of myself so much to play her. Um, and that again, was leaning into my faith and therapy, just kind of really leaning into that and reconnecting with my family and friends and them, all those things reminding me of who I am, you know. But I think what I learned from Lucky and what I took from playing her that I will never let go of is one, believing yourself. You know, I think with othering people, with racism, sexism, all the isms, there's a level of the violation is usually carried out in part with gaslighting. So gaslighting is often used in these situations, basically telling you, no, you're crazy, what you're experiencing is in your head. And experiencing that can cause you to not believe yourself. It can cause you to question your own experience. And I think after playing Lucky, I didn't realize how much I questioned myself and not been sure of my own thoughts and feelings and emotions. But playing Lucky really required me to own them, and it blessed me with the confidence to own every single bit of me. And also playing Lucky blessed me with the knowledge of knowing that I am far more capable than I ever thought I was. When I first signed on, I was terrified, to be honest with you, because I knew that it would require every single bit of me and then some. And having made it on the other side of playing Lucky, I really shocked myself, and I move forward knowing that sky's not even the limit, with that kind of confidence that I am far more capable than I ever, ever, ever thought I was. And in me believing that, hopefully I can inspire someone else to believe that in their own, in their own lives. So yeah, that's what I take from playing her.
That's incredible. Deborah, thank you so much for talking with me today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
And for those of you watching, hit like and subscribe for more interviews with award season contenders and head to goldderby.com to make your Emmy predictions.